Joy. This is the fourth element of success. Okay, I'm not talking about happiness. Because I can be happy. I can even be in my car singing the happy song. Clap along if you feel like a girl without a roof, or whatever those words are. And because that's the only part I know. But I like the Little Mermaids and everything. I watch that with my grandsons. And so I can be walking or driving along and I'm singing a happy song and somebody cuts me off in traffic and I'm not happy anymore. But joy is not messed up by somebody in line, cutting in front of me. My joy doesn't get stolen by somebody who gets the promotion I thought I deserved, or the raise I was counting on. My joy is within me. It's deep. It cannot be stolen. And lastly, point number 5, financial prosperity. Okay? If you have wealth and you don't have the rest of it, you're no better than the Colombian drug lord, or really, whatever. Some of these drug people have all kind of money. But that's not success. You have to have all 5 facets of it. So as you're working toward finding and fulfilling God's plan for your life, and you're trying to maybe even figure out what is it, what does it look like? If all 5 pieces aren't there, that's not it. Some people know that they know that they know when they're a little girl that they're supposed to do a certain thing. My precious friend Barb here at my book table, she knew when she was a little girl she was supposed to be a teacher. She was a teacher, I think, naturally gifted before she went to school and learned how to be a teacher. And she taught at Upland High School for 40 years. She taught me the skills that made me employable, the skills that got me my first job when I was 15 years old, which was the condition for emancipating out of being a ward of the court and out of abuse. That lady right there launched me in a career. They know when they're little girls, and then there are some people who live most of their life and they don't know, and they find it in the last few years. And I always say, well, Jesus was 30 when he started. And then sadly, there are some people, they're not here today. You notice they're the ones who didn't show up today. There are some people who live their whole entire lives and they never find it. And they're unhappy. And you know who they are. Bad attitudes, broken relationships, poor health, and I think, you know what? We are going to be just not well. When you talk about just well-being, we're not going to be well. It's not going to all be well with our soul when we're striving to do something that maybe we weren't made to do. So, I want to tell you about when I quit my job without a business plan and started my company. Well, really, I started my very first company when I was 6 years old, and I learned how to knit and crochet. And, we were living in that 500 square foot shack, and it was filthy dirty, and we had no food. And I thought, well, I'll try to do something where I could make some money. So I started crocheting blankets and going door to door in the neighborhood where I live. Now, mind you, the next door neighbors sold drugs and made fake papers for illegal aliens, is what we called them back in the 60s. Don't all, get after me. And then the house after that, on the other side of that, was where the father and the son did a drive-by shooting, and they bragged about it, and they killed the son's, girlfriend's mother because she dumped the son to date somebody else. So, evidently you don't do that, and you just, So they were very proud of themselves that they did a drive-by shooting. The house after that was the Hells Angels house. Picture little white girl. I was the only white girl for miles in any directions, knocking on the door. Would you like to buy a blanket? So I've been doing direct sales since I was 6. So all the way along, I would wash your dog, I would clean your car, I would detail your car, I would mow your grass, I would paint a room, I would paint your house, I would cook your dinner, I would do anything, and I didn't know how to do any of those things. I've never known how to do any of the things I've done. So, That very first job that I got hired for and allowed me to emancipate, I was 15 years old and I was hired by an insurance agent. And I became the youngest licensed insurance agent in California when I was 17. Because I was an emancipated minor, they finally let me sit for the test. And so I was with a little one-man agency, and he couldn't offer me full-time, and I needed to eat. I really got accustomed to eating. And so he suggested that I get a full-time job in an agency where, they could give me the hours. Well, I opened up the phone book. Many of you don't know what that is. It was a big, fat book before the internet, so there were yellow pages. And I felt like that God was leading me. In the meantime, I had been led to Christ again by this woman over here. She didn't even know it because she was a public school teacher and she wasn't proselytizing. But she told me about, something about, I asked her, well, how are you dealing with this? And she says, oh, my faith. And I said, oh, you go to church? And she said, yes, I do. Again with the yellow pages. I opened it up and I found a church. And she didn't know this, but I hitched a ride down there and I got myself baptized.